David Popovici is one of the fastest swimmers of all time, and he's only 16 years old. The Romanian superstar bursts onto the world swimming scene, clocking a 47.30 in the 100-meter freestyle to break the junior world record. So far this year, he's also been a 145 in the 200-meter freestyle, and in this video, we're going to break down a full technical analysis on his freestyle, and we're going to show you how he's swimming so fast and what will make him swim even faster against the world's fastest competition in Tokyo Olympics. Let's go ahead and kick things off here with the 100-meter freestyle that made him so famous, that 47.3. You see him in the middle of the pool with that white cap. We're going to get into this, and I hope you guys can really learn something, not only from this race, but after the race, we're going to break down the stroke part by part. We're going to look at it above the water. We're going to look at some race footage in the 200-meter freestyle, which is a little bit more controlled than what we see here in the 100. But right away, he is off to an early lead. If you compare his start to Caleb Dressel's start, who is the current fastest in the world of the last 3 years, obviously Dressel's got a lot more pop off the start, but the over-water speed, look at that, out in a 22.9. David's going to be really hard to beat at the Tokyo Olympics. I think between him and Dressel, they swim the race actually a lot differently. He's coming home really, really strong. Very clean stroke over the water. We're going to get into that, and you can see from that front view, he's just dominating the field. This is going to be absolutely incredible to watch what happens at the Tokyo Olympics. But before we get there, we want to watch his stroke technique, and we're going to see what we can learn from that. We're going to see why he's swimming so fast and what he can do to take it to the next level. If you guys are new here, welcome to MySwimPro, where we share the latest and greatest to help you swim faster and smarter than ever before. So if you haven't already downloaded the MySwimPro app, make sure you download it. You've got training plans, video technique, analysis, and all those things packaged right there. We've also got some cool dryland and other videos and technique content that will help you swim faster and smarter than ever before. So make sure you download the MySwimPro app, be a part of the community. And also, if you haven't already joined the MySwimPro Facebook group, it's absolutely amazing. 100% free to join. It's linked down below in the description. Take your swimming to the next level. Over 20,000 swimmers are in there from all over the world. So let's go ahead and get into this analysis. So I've got some footage right here. We're going to watch him in slow motion from a few different angles. First thing I want to do is highlight his high elbow catch and positioning above the water. So this is something that he does really, really well, and all the best swimmers are doing this. Now, above the water, the significance of always keeping the elbow above the hand at all times. So you can see that he's doing that really well. The elbow is above the hand. And actually, if we move through the stroke, we're going to see, let me clear the screen, we're going to see that he actually is able to maintain this all the way through. And we don't have the underwater footage. As this swimmer develops and he gets more media coverage, we'll be able to see, especially at the Olympics, some underwater footage. And we're going to do another analysis video. So make sure you guys are subscribed, because we're going to put out a lot more content breaking down the stroke. But I wanted to pump out this video for you guys after he just finished the 50, 100, and 200 freestyle at the World Juniors, European Juniors. And he's been really dominant. So there he is above the water. Now, in this angle, you can see his turn. This is the 200. Takes a breath right off the turn. So we're going to have to, I know that was fast. Let's go ahead and watch that. So coming off the wall, when you watch his turn next to some of the greats like the Michael Phelpses or even the Paul Biederman, who has the world record in this event, really pushing the underwaters, he's coming up barely past the flags. And he's taking a breath right there. You see him taking a breath. You don't want to do that in any distance freestyle, because you kill all of your momentum off of the wall. So it's really important that you maintain your speed on the underwaters, not so much the distance necessarily, but whatever distance you do have, you don't want to take a breath, because that slows you down. I know, especially in long course, your lungs are burning and you're trying to take that breath. I think this is something that he can polish and will immediately drop some time by getting those walls a little bit more aggressive. He's only 16 years old. He turned 17 in September. Some people were wondering, like, how big is this guy? I believe he stands at 6'3". His arms are really long. He's really narrow in the water. His arms, I think, are 2.05 meters, which is 6 feet and 7 inches. So that's really tall. All right, let's go ahead and get into this, some other areas of his technique. So we talked about his high elbow catch, or high elbow above the water, right? There's his hand. So you can see the elbow is always above the hand. You want to be able to do that above and below the water. So that's really good. What's interesting about his stroke is that he He's let me put this in slow motion so you guys can see it a lot easier. There we go. He's very clean, but his hand is almost straight when it's entering the water, but he doesn't make a lot of splash. I think this arm right here, we're going to see it. So he's pulling underwater, and then by the time he even gets out in front, do you see that right there? His arm is pretty much in a straight line. And for reference, guys, I'm doing this on an iPad in real life with you guys in real time. So make sure you smash the like button if you appreciate this kind of analysis. So he also has a little bit of a bend right there in the wrist. I don't really mind that so much, but you know, I think with a little bit of a stronger kick, that'll actually allow him to drive his fingers into the water. Let me show you where I think the ideal setup is at this point. So his arm should be like this, right? So his elbow should be still bent at this point, and his finger should be sliding into the water right about there. You know, we'll see. He might actually just maintain this as he gets stronger. He develops a stronger kick, more power, more rotational power. But I just thought that was interesting that his arm is relatively straight. The textbook freestyle is you're entering the water instead of what seems to be right there, you're entering at that first blue arrow. So that's something that's interesting. We'll keep an eye on that as the stroke develops, as we get more footage, we see it from under the water and see what's happening. Another thing that I want to call out here, so this is really good when we're talking about that high elbow. We're talking about that high elbow catch. Come on, there it is. So there we go. That's a really good hand exit. So he's pushing out the back. He's bringing the elbow up, and then this part right here is going to end up entering the water right there. Now let's look at the body position. This is what we normally start with. I just got excited with the upper body, the hands. But this is very important. So right now, this is his body line. Normally you use the nose or the center of the head, and what we want to pay attention to is where the water line is, relatively speaking. So the water line is that lane marker. There's actually another lane marker, and he's swimming down the middle of the lane. Good for him. But when you have basically a difference between the parallel to the water, you can see that's the red line right there, and then your head position when you're breathing, that's the yellow line. Basically, the difference between these two, like the angle, is the displacement your upper body is creating in the water. So remember, in swimming, your goal is to reduce your drag. The only way you can do that is by swimming higher in the water. If you have a really big angle right here and right there, there's a math term for those two angles being equal, but the bigger that angle, that means basically the deeper your legs are in the water. Now, this is actually a huge advantage of being skinny and young at 16 years old, because his legs probably don't weigh anything. He probably doesn't have that much leg muscle. So because the mass of his legs are not that heavy, his legs aren't sinking as much as someone else, like a much bigger swimmer, like say a Flo Manidou. If you were to compare, if Flo Manidou were to lift his head like this, that's why he can't swim the 200 free, because if you lift your head like this, your legs are going to sink. So David's really, really benefiting from how high his body position is, where he could have such an angle and have such an up-down movement in his stroke and still swim so fast. So this is something that, you know, to keep an eye on for him in how much elevation is coming out of the water. So I drew a lot on the screen. I'm going to clear the screen. So let's watch this again in slow motion. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let me put it in half speed. So he's coming really, let me get back to that. He's coming really high out of the water. So right here at the highest point, let me go ahead and pause it so you guys can really get a feel for how high out of the water he's coming. Right there. Basically, his whole head is out of the water. So if we were to redraw that line, it looks something like that. Right now, the angle is actually even more severe. So there's a lot of things he's doing right, obviously. Doing, you know, his pull, his high elbow catch, early vertical forearm, his gracefulness, his distance per stroke is obviously, you know, best in the world right now. He has the fastest time in the world. We're just trying to see, you know, of the things he's doing well, where can he get to that next level? Like, you know, from now, besides getting more powerful, stronger, more conditioning, how is he going to go 46? Dare I say it, will he be someone who goes 45? I think at this point, it wouldn't be that surprising for him to go a 46 anything. I think the next level becomes, hey, if you're swimming and you're still doing this in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, are we pushing 45? So that's what I'm sure him and his coach are thinking about down the road. Can they get to that next level? And it'll be some of these elements in applying that next level of training and power and all those things and actually doing some of the stuff that we're talking about here. And if you guys are watching this and you're like, oh wow, he's great, you can't improve. You can always improve. And if you're watching this, most likely you're not swimming at this level of proficiency. So these are some things that you can apply in your own swimming. You want to think about how high your head is coming out of the water when you're swimming, and even when you breathe. And when you're someone like David, who's swimming the 100 and the 200 freestyle, you're breathing every 2 strokes in the 200. So you got to really pay attention to this. And it's also important to have rhythm. So we're going to talk about that in just a sec, but let's finish up here on the body position. So if you notice, the upper body is starting to come up. That means the legs are going down. And so in training and in competition, the more you can maintain that level body position and sort of minimize too much up. Now, having rhythm is good. We'll talk about that in just a sec. But having too much of an up, down, I just realized the arrows, I'm in the way of the arrows I just drew. Let me go ahead and remove myself. These are the arrows that I was drawing, right? These are where his legs are. His legs are sinking. We can't see them. I'm going to draw his legs. They're right there in the red. Now in the blue, I drew where his legs could be if he lowered his head position. Again, we're nitpicking here, but these are the things that'll get you to that next level. Clear the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and return myself. What's up, guys? Let's go ahead and talk about the gallop now. So I'm just going to play this uninterrupted from the beginning and watch sort of this up-down, which is okay if you can minimize it and just get yourself that rhythm. So he has a great distance per stroke, meaning he's going really far. Each stroke is very efficient. He's not taking a lot of strokes, which allows him to be very good at the second half of the 100 and even the back half of the 200 as well. There's that turn we talked about, breathing on the first stroke. And there's the gallop, right? It's all about rhythm. So if you can get a rhythm and that rhythm allows you to be more efficient, that's the goal. That is the key. However, you don't want to be going too much up and down because that will actually negate the rhythm gains that you have. You see it right there? There's that gallop. The gallop is okay if you can leverage it to make yourself more efficient and have a good distance per stroke. It becomes a problem when you come so high out of the water. I've seen some gallops because it's timed with your kick too, right? This footage, it's cutting off his legs. But sometimes this gallop is caused by an imbalanced kick. So if the kick can get stronger, I mentioned this in the beginning of the video, if you can make the kick a little bit stronger and more consistent, the gallop will become less of a thing, and you'll have the rhythm without this up-down movement, or as much. The greatest swimmer of all time, Michael Phelps, had a gallop. It looks like Phelps, though, had a more consistent and stronger kick to keep him propelling through the water. Now he's swimming in reverse. All right, let's watch it again in normal speed, and you can see the gallop and where that rhythm is coming from. This is half speed right here. And you can see there is that up-down motion, but that's okay if you can get rhythm. Okay, it's okay a little bit. If you looked at Michael Phelps, 142 in the 200 freestyle, and there was a gallop. But it was supported by a very, very strong kick. You put some Michael Phelps, or heck, you put some Caleb Dressel starts on turns on this guy, and he's going to go 45. So yeah, you heard it here. He's going 45 in the next 5 years if he can clean some of these things up. But it's definitely remarkable to watch this guy do what he does. And it's going to be very exciting. Let me know in the comments what you think about his stroke. If you learned anything from this video, appreciate the support with a subscribe. Like the video as well. And if you're not in that Facebook group, make sure you join the Facebook group, download the MySwimPro app. It's going to be very exciting to see how this unfolds. We'll definitely do another analysis in the near future. Wish you guys the best. Take care and happy swimming.